in front of a screen all day and you expect yourself to switch your mind off and meditate, no chance. 12 minutes a day over 8 weeks can change the neurological pathways in the brain. So it's like, that's like a quarter of a Netflix program. The thoughts were way more painful than the actual pain itself.
Now then, welcome to Reconnect, the podcast for people who want to heal and grow from life's tough times. I'm Joe Tudor, the founder of the Reconnect Club and a mental health keynote speaker. Today, I'm chatting with Luke Doherty, the founder of Mindful Peak Performance, a meditation coach and a former elite athlete. On today's podcast, you'll hear what exactly is meditation, the incredible benefits of mindfulness, and how you can start practicing now. Right, here's Luke. Going from playing international rugby to being a meditation teacher is not a very well-trodden path. How did that even come about?
Yeah, good question. Let me have a think. So my youth was dominated by rugby and sport, about 7 years training to play rugby for England, and managed to do that when I was 18. And then I stopped playing rugby and then put the same discipline into law and did 2 degrees in law and then kind of burnt out. And in that burnout, realized that drive and discipline on its own doesn't really take you that far ultimately. Then I had to kind of rediscover where I wanted to go with my life. And I found meditation at that time, and it was like a light bulb that went on. It was like I'd learned to train my mind. I'd spent 7 years or so training my body, and now I had this kind of tool where I could train my mind from being like distracted and being more present. And this aliveness came from that journey. And then it felt kind of seamless that, you can train your body, you can also learn to train your mind. And it just felt like it was an evolution of like the two felt connected. And then I spent 7 years bringing mind and body together in Mindful Peak Performance and creating something called Body Mind Training, which integrates physical and mental training and trains youth workers and sports psychologists and coaches to pass on meditation practices to young people and to athletes and help them integrate it with physical training. So it's like my life becomes whole. Those two phases of my life get connected through what I'm doing now. It's amazing, really. And I didn't strategize for my life to pan out like this, but it has.
What actually is meditation, and is it different from mindfulness?
Mindfulness is a general term. Right now we're being mindful. You can be walking on the street and being mindful. It's like awareness, being aware of what you're doing, and trying to be absorbed in what you're doing, noticing when you've got distracted thoughts and having the skill to kind of just be aware and bring yourself back to the present. Meditation is a practice that helps you develop that awareness. So it's a practice that helps you connect to your body, the sensations in your body, soften anxieties, let your nervous system kind of calm, and naturally your mind starts to quieten, and then the connection with the body deepens and your presence deepens. And meditation's for me this beautiful practice of coming home to myself in that way. And you can be mindful doing anything. You can be mindful in the boxing gym, or you can be mindful talking to somebody. But meditation's that practice to come home. And so important today with so much going on so many levels with technology and our awareness being pulled in so many different ways. This kind of homecoming practice, I call it, meditation, is brings about more awareness, really.
So how does meditation actually work, especially for someone like me that finds it really difficult to sit down and close my eyes and be still?
Well, I think first of all, it's a challenge because there's a number of resistances. Usually it's like, I'm going to sit and be still. What is that productive? Is that going to achieve me anything? Like my my rugby player inside is like, fuck that. I don't want to sit still and not drive towards something. Or if I'm working with leaders and I say, let's take some time out of your calendar and sit still and freak out. Like it's really hard. So it's like, first of all, acknowledging that resistance comes up, but then learning to be with that resistance and soften that and realize that there's a peace and a stillness and a kind of confidence that comes from just not buying into the busyness or the drives for periods of time, and realizing that inner stillness when you then go back into busyness, you bring calm with you. So you've got more influence. So it's kind of it's a weird one like that. It's a bit contradictory.
Sounds almost like when you go to the gym. Right, I remember going to the gym for the
Yeah.
first time. If you've not been to the gym for a while, and think of the bench press, and I go and bench press, I feel really wobbly, and
Yeah.
it's hard. But over time, I kind of get fluidity, and I can move. And
Well, that's a great metaphor because ask me about like from rugby to mindfulness. Well, the same principle of like learning to train the body and that discipline and strengthening those muscles takes time, takes care, takes. It's the same with the mind, like learning to bring the mind back to the present moment here, where you can be present. You've got to. It's like training. You've got to learn to bring the mind back. You've got to keep doing the reps to come back, and therefore for me it was very naturally connected to physical training. I see them as really, really interconnected.
I find the way you've described mindfulness and meditation really helpful. I didn't actually know that. And so I had a situation on the sofa. I was just sat on the sofa. I was really tired after work, and I was kind of watching TV and scrolling on my phone at the same time. And I had this moment of being like, "What am I doing?" And then so that would be mindfulness, but the meditation would be if I actually sit down and do a specific meditation practice.
Yeah, and it's like building the muscle of your mind, because in those moments it's so easy to follow the easy option, which is like I'm going to stay vegging out and getting my mind distracted and going into thought loops or whatever social media loops. It's so easy to get caught in that. It takes a real discipline to break those loops, and that's why it's a bit like training a muscle. It's like we've got to, or when you react at someone, or like when we're trying to control our reactions to things, we need this mental muscle to kind of create space before reacting, or to create space to make better choices. So it's a very profound practice, and it's really difficult. So it's like there's got to be loads of compassion about what we're up against, really.
What's the most common way or method of practicing meditation?
I'm going to answer this and say I think the most powerful is before and after physical training. And this is something I've been exploring over the last sort of 7 or 8 years. But starting physical training by calming your mind and getting connected to your body, going into the physical training more present so you can feel your body more, and then directly after is when you've got an endorphin release, you're kind of more connected to your body, it usually feels good. That's a really sweet spot to then step out of our habitual thinking patterns and then just come home to the body again, and it usually feels good. And I think that's a way to kind of supercharge, if you like, meditation practices. And really good if you're in front of a screen all day. If you're in front of a screen all day and you expect yourself to switch your mind off and meditate, no chance. Like we've got to get into our bodies a lot of the time.
As you were talking then, like a light bulb went off my mind. It reminded me of a TED talk that I watched years ago. And it was a clinical psychologist. And he said that if you could bottle up all of the physiological benefits of exercise and put it into a pill, he said it'd be the highest selling pill ever. And I kind of relate to that because from my experience, like exercise has been so helpful. Running in particular, I see as my antidepressant. Like it doesn't solve my problems, but it helps me move from a way where I feel overwhelmed and bogged down and feel stuck. I still might feel overwhelmed, bogged down and stuck, but I feel a bit better in my body afterwards.
Yeah.
And it's really interesting because I don't think I spend enough time connecting with how I feel before and afterwards, but I do it anyway. So it's like an easy way in where I'm doing the exercise anyway. I might be going to the gym, but it's like a free hit of meditating as well.
Yeah, exactly. And integrating it like that just makes it way more accessible. I work with a lot of people who run and then they warm down and they use that period after the run to quiet and then start meditating. And it's just a real natural segue into the mental side of looking after ourselves as well.
And just so I'm like clear with people that have never tried meditating before, let's say you're going to go for a run, you might meditate before. Is that just sitting still and is it focusing on the breath or like?
Yeah, I mean, look, anyone listening can have access to my meditation practices if they want. They want to practice a 3-minute meditation before. I think the main principle is like noticing what's going on a mental level, like all the different thoughts from the day, whether your awareness is going towards an argument or something that's happened at work or, noticing that and then being like, okay, that's there. What else is going on? And then the breath is moving the body. There might be tension in the body, and it's just coming back to that more baseline awareness that we often are not in touch with on daily life. We're up here thinking all the time. So it's like, great, we've got all these thoughts. We're not demonizing them. We're human. And then we're learning to just step into the sensations in the body, the movements of the breath, really simple stuff. And then just bring some calm into the being. We're all human beings. We're stepping into the being and just bringing calm into our experience. It's that simple, but it's bloody hard. Yeah, it's hard, and it's a lifelong practice. It's not something we crack. It's not something we do a course and then suddenly we've got it. But it's a really profound practice.
A lot of the people you work with are elite athletes at the highest level, CEOs, senior leaders, amongst many other people in community work that you do too. What are the most common motivations and reasons why people decide they want to meditate and set up this practice?
I think headspace, particularly leaders and athletes, when there's a lot going on, it can just feel overwhelming. So many different priorities, so many different pulls on energy, responsibility. And like having that ability to have moments where you step out of that chaos and see things more clearly and come back to yourself and make better decisions, reduce your reactions to people, be more intentional in meetings, show up better in training. It's like it just creates this kind of superpower, basically. And usually a leader or an athlete, it'll take a bit of time to be like, how can I give time to something where I'm not being productive? Once they start realizing it allows me to then show up with more energy, more clarity, more dynamism, it's like motivation just naturally, it just becomes like a self-fulfilling prophecy. So yeah, it's kind of as simple as that, but it takes a bit of it takes someone to really understand it in their own experience, not just to do it because it's a good idea.
For years, I've had times of having a meditation practice on and off.
Yeah.
And I feel like I've fallen into a few traps that I'd love to talk about. And you touched on some people find that some of the elite, really successful people you work with find that it gives them headspace and makes them more productive. Yeah. I've fallen into the trap of my main motivation for meditating being productivity and seeing it like a productivity hack that can help me actually do more.
Yeah.
Which I found has led me to burnout. Like from the people you've worked with, how do you try and find that balance?
Well, I guess I'd come back to my own experience first. When I started meditating, I'd say I got so hooked on it, but it was the very driven part of me. It was the athlete in me. I'd found this thing. I committed 7 years of my life. I took a sabbatical from everyday life and went so deep into it to understand it. But some of that was just the drive of like, I'm going to get to the bottom of this. I'm going to get the best at this. And that energy is great. Like, let's not I don't want to say that's wrong, because it's amazing that we've got this driven energy, and it can help us form habits. It can be like, yeah, why not use meditation to be more productive? What's wrong with that? Like, it's not bad, but there's also got to be another motivation at some point, which is like, what's it like to do something just for the sake of doing something because I'm worthy of just doing it for my own well-being and who I am as a person? When that motivation starts to kick in, then a whole new territory opens up. If you just do it on the level of I'm doing this to make myself more productive, you can only go so far with that motivation. When you start to realize that actually I can take space just for the sake of it, like way more creativity comes. Like it's a much deeper motivation. But both can exist. Like I want leaders and athletes to be like smashing it and using meditation to and I want them to be using it to deepen their motivations and their confidence, that they're still and confident regardless of what's going on, whether it's working for them or not.
I like the idea of a toxic fuel. And I want new language for this, because the toxic doesn't quite get it right. But I think that's how a lot of people talk about it, where we have this drive that can fuel us.
Yeah.
So it sounds like we've had something similar where it's like pushed us into this deep. But if the drive is to achieve greater outward success or productivity or results, it becomes a bit unsustainable.
Yeah. Well, for me, it's like, that's why you need a guide to help you kind of understand where you are and what your motivations are. But increasingly, I want to say that those cruder motivations are really important. And over time, you start to realize that there's other motivations there that can emerge. So it's not. I don't want to be black and white about this.
Another trap that I perhaps fell into, and you mentioned this earlier, it was I go in to meditate to try and achieve an end state of like being more calm or being more relaxed. I was trying not to feel what I was feeling now, whereas what you said earlier was that one of the benefits of meditation is being with what's there.
Yeah.
I'm still working on this. Could you explain that a bit more?
I think it's so easy to have expectations. You might have a nice meditation that feels good, and then you're like, you want it again, you want it again, you want it again. It almost becomes like a pill or something. And the real trick, and again, this takes time for this to soften, is just to try and honor whatever's going on as just okay, just as it is. There's a real power in that. And you're not expecting to have a good experience or a bad experience. You're just being honest with whatever's there. And I think that's a really powerful place to be, because it's really creative. You're really alive to what's present. That might be a really powerful, calm kind of meditation experience, or it might be that you're really irritated and you just got to be with that. So it's just a practice of self-honesty, and that just takes time. But it stops things building up, because when we're not honest with ourselves and we're always trying to get a different experience to what's going on, that tension builds up and it builds up, and we get stressed, and our mental health gets affected. So, meditation taken seriously and understood properly, it's a self-honesty practice, and a kind of just, whatever's present is totally welcome.
On a practical level, so I'm going to sit down and start meditating, and I go into it like I did, where I want to feel calm, but I actually sit with a difficult sensation. On a practical level, how do you navigate that?
Yeah, it's really difficult, because I think one of my most profound teachings in meditation was 2 years of having chronic back pain. So I'd done all my sort of ordination training, and I was sort of thought I was graduating meditation school, if you like, and then I developed this chronic back pain for 2 years where I couldn't actually sit down basically for 2 years, and the pain was so intense. And I learned to be with the sense that, like, the thoughts were way more painful than the actual pain itself. The thoughts were, I'm going to have to stop my career. I'm never going to be able to go to the gym again. This could really mess up the whole of my life. I'm going to be disabled, essentially. And so when I learned to just come away from those thoughts and just be with the pain, it wasn't fixed. It was like the intensity would change. Sometimes I'd become aware of it, and it would open up. It would become, and actually I've been for a whole process now where I don't experience any pain in my back.
Wow.
At all. And a lot of that is to do with changing how I related to the pain, then making some changes in my life. So I think pain's a really fascinating topic in meditation, because if you come away from how you're thinking about the pain and just learn to be with it, it's way more manageable, and it can often help the pain or help the tensions in our bodies and the emotions that get stuck release. So it's a profound teacher.
Are there any ever times when, for your own practice or people you work with, where you might say, do you know what, maybe we don't go into that?
Yeah, most of the time. I'm talking from having like a really profound experience there, but a lot of the time, I think starting a meditation practice, you've got to feel pleasure. You've got to feel like this feels good. You've got to feel motivated to do it. Yeah, you don't want to tackle all the biggest things all at once, and it has to be done very gradually. So yeah, a lot of the time we don't need to go digging in meditation for things. But yeah,
I'm fascinated by the mind body connection, and how I think, first of all, how we split the two, which just seems nuts. Like, you could say something truly awful to me now, and the feeling, I probably feel it in my body.
Yeah.
But I think that as a society, we massively neglect that.
Yeah. I think, for me, it's so fascinating, because as I look back, like I say, I spent about 7 years training my body, and then 7 years training my mind, and then doing what I do now, another 7 years. And that's been, how do you bring the two together? Like physical and mental training. And like you say, the body and the mind are so interconnected. If I were to like swear at you now, you'd feel it you'd be like, oh, the body tells the score. Like, the body is where we sort of sense things, and then we make sense of them, interpret them mentally, and they're interconnected. So I think it's just so obvious. And I think treating the mind and body as connected in meditation is so important. So we bring all of our experience along with us.
And is that why one of the I suppose from what I can see, one of the most common meditation practices to focus on the breath.
Yeah.
I'm guessing that would link the two because you're putting your mind's focus on something very
Yeah.
physical.
Well, for me, it's actually the sensations in the body. I don't actually teach meditation using the breath, even though that's a perfectly fine way to do it. I encourage people to explore the sensations in the body, like the sensations in your shoulders, the stomach area, parts of the body that might feel pleasant, parts of the body that might feel tense. Starting to develop this kind of intelligence and honoring the body in this way, because it's a really intelligent source of information about how we're responding to things. And I think for athletes as well, who need to use their bodies, and leaders who need to have a lot of influence on people, or young people trying to manage their emotions and reactions, it starts in the body. So it's like that I think there's a supreme intelligence about becoming aware of the body, knowing what you're reacting to, learning to hold things, understanding. It's a really high form of intelligence that meditation can help us unlock, really.
I feel quite nicely validated right now because I reckon I'm on a 4-month meditation streak at the minute, having had years off.
Yeah.
And my practice is quite unique. I sit on a cushion and I find it really hard to sit still. Sometimes to close my eyes. I feel like my body wants to move. So my practice for the last 4 months, I've done it twice a day, and I just do that. I rock, I sway. It's like sometimes I add some movement to it, but I can't focus on anything but the sensation because often the different ways I could label this, maybe it's like anxiety or whatever, but I feel it in my body. But I find that just putting my attention on it, I move and it feels like a bit of a release. But I did go to like a meditation place, and there was a guy like really advocating for me sitting still and having a really strict, like, he was Zen, which I think is really strict practice.
Yeah.
And I was kind of like, well, that doesn't feel what I need. What I feel like I need is to move, but just to be focused and stay with the sensation. So
linked to that, I sort of go into boxing gyms and have created an approach called BAM, which basically allows young people to express violent energy if they need to through boxing and all sorts of physical movements. And then we connect that up with meditation practices. So I'm a total advocate of like movement or doing what you need to do to connect with your body. You wouldn't get any strict rules like that from me.
that's really interesting because I think of meditation as being quite strict, of having to sit in a cushion, of having to sit there for ages with your eyes closed. But it seems like you're trying to break it out.
Yeah, break it out. And I think also for me, I did 7 years training, and I left that Buddhist training to go back into the sports world and to go into boxing gyms and start bringing meditation into different environments. I think that was a recognition also that as human beings, we've got anger, we've got sadness, we've got fears, we've got different emotions. And sometimes just sitting and being still doesn't allow those kind of emotions to move through. So I think integrating physical training and like movement and allowing more expression is just so important. So we don't bypass, all the things we need to transform or like the release.
I had a clinical psychologist called Anders Sorensen on the podcast a few weeks ago. And he was talking about how what we often label as mental health conditions are actually emotions that need decoding. And it sounds like what you're offering through boxing and mindfulness and all these other types is an actual way for people to tap into those emotions and go about decoding them.
100%. And I think the decoding, like after you've physically released in boxing, through boxing or any kind of physical training, I think the decoding, I think it's you're better able to feel into your body, and the emotions are held in the body, and then teaching meditation from that basis and allowing young people or whoever we're working with to start having confidence in the connection they have with their body, that they can release emotions, they can say how they feel afterwards. This is powerful. It's so simple, and it's so powerful. So it's giving agency back to the people we're working with to like do that, learn that decoding.
Imagine after all these years, you've heard all sorts of things be mentioned when people say how they feel afterwards.
Yeah.
What are the common things that you hear?
Yeah, we do. When we're doing a boxing mindfulness session, we always do a word or a symbol check-in before and after a session. And it's always like there's a lot of anger, rage to calm and stillness. There's always a shift. And we've sort of collaged that shift out of hundreds of sessions over time. And there's always this shift from the acceptance of allowing the young people, whoever we're working with, to name whatever's going on, whether it's rage, anger, sadness, frustration, happiness, whatever, and then going through the BAM process, and at the other end, seeing how more embodied they are and what they articulate the other end of the session. And I think that's a really interesting learning, to be able to start vocalizing what the emotions are. And that simple process is really empowering. And seeing young people lit up after the sessions and just connected to themselves and the power of that, and validating that, and it's that's one of the deepest motivations for doing this work.
I really like how boxing and mindfulness and the way you teach meditation, it sounds like it encourages people to use their own language to describe their own emotional world.
Yeah.
Which I really like, because emotions are so subjective, and like, I think it's really important we connect with them and explain them in a way that's meaningful to us. Whereas I read a lot of books and it's like, well, this is what shame is, and this is the difference between shame and embarrassment and guilt. And it's like, well, I relate to it as shame. I relate to it as shame. So it's cool that you give people that space to verbalize it.
Yeah, and also it's trusting that people, if you give them the right space and the right tools and they feel safe, answers come. People know, giving people the chance to kind of figure it out for themselves with that kind of safety and develop their own language and understanding, ways of releasing, ways of connecting with the practice in their own body. It's really powerful.
I'm guessing it's a combination of a few things. Do you have any inclinations like what the actual mechanism is that leads people to feel that transformation at the end?
Yeah, I think it is to do with the way the method we use. So we've got a very specific method. So in the first meditation, we go down the body. So it's a descent away from the head area where we're thinking a lot of the time. And when we get into negative like thought loops, often our awareness is very caught here. So we go down the back of the body and gradually down to the feet. And that's like acknowledging that we're descending into the body. And we do that very gradually. And then we start the warm up at the feet. So we take the same awareness that we developed in the meditation, the mental training, and then we start at the feet, and then the movement of the feet takes on that same flavor. And then we might go into like vigorous boxing and release, get someone to stop in the middle of that and just feel their body, feel the release that's happening. And then once we've completed the physical training, we go back up the front of the body. So start the meditation at the feet, go back up and close at the shoulders. And it's like that integrated approach is bringing the mind and body together. Like it's bringing the physical and mental together. And at the end, there's just this spark of connection. It's like, oh, people feel more whole. One of the most powerful case studies I had was a youth worker who said to me that they were working with someone who was really suicidal and in a really difficult situation. And the youth worker, and they'd been coming to one of our BAM sessions for like 6 months, and it was the only thing they were engaging with. And the youth worker came to me and said, this person not engaging with anything, and they were really worried about her. And she said to the youth worker, it's the only thing that's giving me meaning in life. And I could see, I can't say this scientifically for sure, but I could see each week the shift and that spark and that bit of connection. And then when you're in connection with your body and you know how you're feeling, there's a safety to that. There's a sense that you can move through something. So I think that the profound simplicity of what we're doing when it's meetings, real suffering that young people, whoever's coming along, it just gives them that sense of connection, agency, and that they can be back in control of the difficult situations. So it's super powerful, basically.
That sounds really powerful. In that situation, you used the word disembodied before.
Yeah.
Is that kind of the opposite of being disembodied?
Yeah. Well, I guess that for me, it's the why I do this. So when people see the power of meditation for becoming more embodied and connected to who they are, when we're in that kind of state, life feels good. Like there's a flow to life. Even if you've got difficult emotions, being connected and embodied with what's going on with your life and your body, that's the most powerful place you could be as a human being. So it's like, I love seeing that in young people when they do the boxing and mindfulness, leaders, athletes, whoever. It's that when someone's mind and their body gets connected, their eyes glow, they feel happy, they know what's going on. Even if they're going through challenges, they've got the confidence to face it. This is like foundational like stuff for human growth. And we've rebranded boxing and mindfulness called body mind training now. So it's now a training program where we train youth workers to pass this on. We train psychologists and coaches in the sports world to pass it on. And I just want to create pathways in the world where these practices can be spread as far as possible. So the next generation and people under pressure have got these tools at their fingertips so they can become connected to who they are in moments when they need it. It's as simple as that.
Connecting to what you said there, I realised that just the process of recording this podcast, I slipped off into being disembodied in places. I love these podcasts. I love having these chats. And I think there's been, if I'm being honest, parts of our conversation today where I've gone into my head thinking about what do I need to ask rather than connecting.
Well, I'm the same. I'm like, I'm now starting to land a bit more in my body and it just feels good. But we're humans, aren't we?
Yeah.
So we've got minds as well. And let's not, using our minds and having an intellect is a supreme thing and is amazing. But if it comes from a place of being embodied and like at ease with what's going on, that's like the holy grail for me. The mind and body being connected.
So embodied is mind and body's connected. You feel present, you feel there. Disembodied is when you're more just up in your head.
Yeah, just up in your head, and it's like your awareness is more here, and you're not really inhabiting your full body. And I don't think our society really encourages like proper embodiment with the amount that's going on with technology and phones, and none of this is bad, but we do get drawn into quite a cerebral awareness, I think. I do as well. I'm not saying I'm kind of separate from that.
Yeah, I do all the time. But I think you're definitely right. And I don't like the term mental health. I use it because there's no other term, but like mental is another word for mind. Like it's mind health, but it's so much more than that. Like the biggest mental health charity in the UK, I think, is called Mind.
Yeah.
Everything is about the mind. And I feel like from my experience, we've neglected one of the most powerful ways to transform and grow, which is to connect with the body, as well as the mind. It's not either or, it's both and.
Yeah, exactly. Bam, body mind training. It's what it's about for me, helping people have those moments in their life where they're not like overthinking everything and they're just feeling like connected and thinking is clearer, perspectives are clearer. It's so much, trying to grow that capacity is, one of my motivations.
We've spoken a lot about body and exercise, but if you're in a small meeting room or you're doing an online session with a CEO that only has a small space, what actually happens in those, however long they are, sessions?
In terms of my one-to-one work, it's, I start with a meditation practice. I prepare myself so I'm connected to my body and my mind. So before I go into a session, start with a 15-minute meditation to help someone move into a quieter space. Often when I'm working with leaders and athletes, they've been back-to-back meetings or pressures. Opening with a 15-minute meditation, then we go into a period of communication and raising awareness to any tensions or anything that needs to be worked through or anything that's live in the energy, or like when we bring a heightened awareness to that, resolve anything that's going on, create an action, then do a second meditation, which then releases the pressure, and then it's sealed off. So it's creating this kind of incubator of like stillness and embodiment in the midst of a very busy schedule. So that's the space I provide for leaders and athletes on a one-to-one level. And it's amazing seeing leaders come in resistant, like, I've got a to-do list, I've got all this to do. 99.9% of the time after every session, it's like, I'm clearer, I know what I need to do. It's like someone described it recently as a Jenga block. It's like knowing, like pulling before the session, it's just like not clear what's going on, all these different priorities, and then unpacking all the different things, bringing more awareness to what's going on and going back into action with that kind of clarity.
And the actual method that you use then in there is connecting on. So the first meditation with a leader in a room, for example, will be connecting with the sensations that they feel in their
so
body.
It'll be a meditation to start with to connect with whatever's going on and bring someone into a calmer state. Then it's communication, like an inquiry, what's going on, like what needs to be worked through, is there a theme, like, and then action. What action can come from this heightened awareness of, It might be to do with they might be frustrated with something, or they might need to let go of something, or prioritize or make a choice around something, work something through, resolve something in that space. Then a second meditation, which releases the pressure, and then going back out into the workplace or onto the field with more clarity and more dynamism and more resolve, basically.
It's great that you've got a resource that you mentioned that people can find your meditation.
Yeah.
I think that'd be great for people to actually have something
Yeah.
to what I'd really like people to do. If they've listened to this and thought, do you know what? Like, maybe I've been a bit disembodied, I've been stuck in my head, I'm maybe disconnected from my emotions, or like if they've listened to the Anders Sorensen podcast, thought, I want to be able to decode these emotions and connect with them more. I think it'd be great if we can help people actively go away. So if someone's listening to this and they feel motivated to go out there and try meditation, what are their first steps in creating a practice?
Yeah, I mean, the science is interesting. It's saying like 12 minutes a day over 8 weeks can change the neurological pathways in the brain. So it's like, that's like a quarter of a Netflix program. So
Wow.
I would like to encourage anyone that's like, it's doable. I would say start there, start small, see if you can do 12 minutes a day over 8 weeks. And from your own experience, see if you're calmer, see if you're more connected to your body, see if it helps you feel less reactive to your partner or your friends or whatever. Like, test it out in your own experience, and then only keep going forward with it if it's doing something for you. And then there's other options to do courses and meditation centers, but I think start small and just build it, and people can have access to my 12-minute practices as well if they want to try that out. Yeah, but I think it's about building, not doing it for a good idea. It's like building and seeing if it's working, and then keep taking the next steps.
I like the teacher, the author, I think he teaches meditation as well, Sam Harris.
Yeah.
Says some good stuff about meditation, and he talks about empirical evidence. And there's like, you look at a scientific study, they always talk about empirical evidence, and he's like, collect your own empirical evidence.
Yeah.
And I love that approach for anything to do with how we feel, especially like building mental health tools.
Yeah.
Like, don't do it because we say it's a good idea. Do it because you've tried it and you think it feels good. And if it doesn't feel good, find something else, because there's so many things you can try.
Exactly. And then I think you're taking agency, and you're not putting it on you can't cheat your own experience. So you keep following what feels right, test it out, become your own. Yeah, I totally agree with Sam Harris on that point.
So let's say I'm going to walk before I can run. So before I start meditating, before and after exercise, I'm just going to try meditation in a 12-minute block. Does it matter how you sit, stand, walk? Like how?
For me, it's like, I think it's good to maybe try it seated or lying down to start with, and build. But I think, again, I don't like to be prescriptive. I like people, like, if it really works for someone to listen to that and bring awareness to their body while they're walking and they've got it on, I'd say experiment. I'd say start with sitting and just get used to it and like see if that works for you. But if someone wants to stand up or like go for a walk whilst listening to it and stay within the practice, yeah, why not? And if it works, great. I think it's the intention of like stopping and doing the practices and noticing the mind wander off and keep coming back to the body. That can be done whilst you're moving. It can be done whilst you're seated. It's probably easier whilst you're seated because you've got a bit more chance to notice what's going on. But again, experiment.
So the mind's going to wander off then?
Yeah, the mind's always going to wander off. That's the key thing, is be the awareness of that, and then coming back to the body, to the breath, and that repetition, and building that confidence to break that loop of always thinking that we all want freedom from, because it's just annoying a lot of the time if we don't get a handle on it.
I think that's where I've misjudged meditation. I think, to me, I felt like to be meditating, I have to be focusing solely clearly on that object of meditation without fail. Whereas it sounds like what you're saying is actually the process is focusing, wandering off, focusing, wandering off.
This
realizing
is one of the key things. Like, we're human and we've got a wandering mind. 50% of the time our minds are wandering off, according to Harvard, like on average, no matter what we're doing. So we've got this as humans. So a lot of the meditation experience isn't just sitting on a cloud and blissing out. It's like, it's being in relationship when our minds wander off. It's like, oh, I've done that again. Let's not be hard on myself. Right. And then you come back, and then you might have 2 or 3 seconds of being present, and you're off again, and then you come back. It's a bit like lighting a match, and like 20 matches you'll light and they won't light. And then but every now and then you'll get a longer period of being connected in your body, and that's like the spark of the match. And then it'll blow out and your mind will wander off. But it's like you keep building that connection. And that's how the neurological pathways build within your brain that connect you to calm, that connect you to being present and not thinking about whatever it is that our minds do when we're trying to sleep at night, or our minds are always taken to the past, the future.
It sounds like it's all about awareness.
Yeah, about awareness. Yeah, noticing all of that and coming back and not berating ourselves and not judging ourselves, and also you can just let it, like for my practice now, it's like I'm not trying to stop thinking. I can see when my mind's wandering off, and I can be aware of that, and I can sort of be 80% in my body, and that's pretty good. It's just having that control and that kind of, it's such a relief for me to have that in my life.
Do you find the same things come up?
Yep. Yeah. Same, yeah, same voices, same like thoughts. I think the key is not to try and take the thinking processes too seriously, because they're not factual a lot of the time. It's just like playfulness is really important, and just being like, no, yeah, not trying to buy too much into what we're always thinking, and just have a bit of a lighter relationship to the thoughts.
It sounds like it's the perfect complement to a lot of the things we can do that help us feel good. I really advocate for like building your own toolkit, and everyone's toolkit's different. It's not like, again, it's not building a toolkit because I say to her, I said, this is a tool, it's testing stuff. But it sounds like being mindful and having some sort of meditation practice feeds into all the other things that we can do. Like, I suppose the most common mental health tool is therapy. Well, if you've got meditation practice, you might be more mindful of the things that are coming up, which might mean you might be able to go deeper and be supported in therapy. It might be that you don't see a therapist and you like journaling. Well, the stuff's going to come up, you put it in your journaling. Or it might be that art or writing or poetry or some sort of art creation. I'm guessing meditation sounds like just feeds into all the different types of tools that can help us feel good.
Yeah, it's like a foundational practice that can support anything. Whether you want to get more creativity around your writing, or you want to be a better parent, or you want to reduce your reactivity levels, having that foundation of something brings you out of thinking into feeling, and like learning to soften and feel calm and connected. That can go anywhere. And that's why I just think it's such a foundational practice that I think, the young, like, I just wish when I was training to be an athlete that I'd picked these practices up earlier. I feel very passionately about making sure that the next generation and young people and athletes now get access to this stuff as soon as possible.
You're working with some really high level elite athletes. What are the performance benefits that they're seeing from this practice?
Well, we sort of shifted how we're working in the sports world now. So we're now, we developed a partnership with Loughborough, where we're now training athletes, psychologists and coaches to pass on the practices, recognizing that they've got the trusted relationships with the athletes. The benefits are, from my time in the sports world, like just relief that I'd often take players out of like busy schedules, and they get a chance to say how they're actually feeling, meditate and soften anxiety and tension, and then go back out into the pressure and just feel clear and relieved and seen, and kind of in that really high driven culture, just having that kind of space to be with me as a coach, but then learning the meditation as a way that they can do that for themselves. So it's like something you can step out of that for 3, 6, 12 minutes and just find that inner stillness and inner peace, and then go back out. That's a superpower for an athlete that's looking to get the edge, or a leader that's trying to have better influence. Particularly also for leaders, if you're a really busy leader in back-to-back meetings, and you've got a really important meeting, and you've got certain things that you've not processed from previous meetings, and people read your body language. If you're a leader, you've got so much influence that you don't even realize you have a lot of the time. So if you can find a way of resetting very quickly and marking the transitions of the day with meditation, it means that your influence levels increase. And that for me is another way of thinking about meditation. It's transitions. we all start the day, end the day, go home after work or whatever, or not if we work from home. But meditation can be this way of marking and transitioning and not just making our days into this one big blob. We stop and we move on to the next thing. We let go of the meeting we just had, then we're fully present with this one. So it's like we get to like navigate like this is super powerful.
Marking the end of the day. I go from work. I find it really hard to get out of work mode and into chill home cooking mode.
Yeah.
And just being there with my partner and having a chat. Like sometimes I'm in the kitchen and I'm like, I'm not there.
Yeah. Well, before this podcast, I said like, can I just sit for 10 minutes? So I just sat and had that transition before moving into this. I try and do that at the end of the day. I try and encourage people to take micro pauses in this way, so you can then be present in different areas of your life, and it doesn't all bleed into one, which is really painful when it does.
There's just so many benefits. There's so much that can be, and it seems like a really high return on investment. Like it doesn't have to cost you anything.
No, and I think it's just giving people permission to do it in a way that works for them. Whether that's, one thing that I say to people before starting a meditation practice is, where do you get into flow states in your life? And that might be reading, it might be in the gym, swimming, walking the dog, anything where you're feeling connected and happy, and any memories of that, or like that's where you should really start. Like make sure those things are in your life and solid and there, and then you can start bringing meditation in to kind of bring more of that about. But I like to say to people, most people know like the things that make them feel happy and connected and in flow. That's where you start, and then you can, you want more of that. Meditation can help build more of a foundation of that.
It seems to me like meditation is just focusing your presence on one thing.
Yeah.
So that one thing could be loads of different things. I feel like hearing you talk, like, yes, you can meditate before and after the run, but I feel like my run is a meditation.
Yeah, 100%. Why does, like, you turn the run into a meditation? Suddenly that's where, like, you're aware of the sensations in your body. You're trying to be with that, trying to soften that. That's a dynamic meditation practice, and enhances the running experience.
And I can't have music, podcasts. I have a little Garmin that tells me my heart rate because I have no chill and just want to send it all the time. So I try and keep it calm. But I actually find it mental that people, not mental, but I find that I have a different intention than a lot of runners, because you see them with the heads down and the headphones in. And I just think it is so mentally stimulating or overly stimulating just to focus on my breath, my form, and how it feels. That's so much information to process at once. Like as soon as I throw music or podcast, I'm not there, and I lose that benefit.
Maybe that's a bit of a challenge for anyone listening. Like you want to try a dynamic meditation, just go running without any music or stimulus, and just notice the feelings of running. Notice the sounds around you. Notice, like, that's a powerful practice.
Or walk if you can't run.
Or walk. Oh yeah.
Or sit on the tube. This is like we both live in London, and I suppose it's probably not just a London thing. It's probably trains everywhere. But you go on the tube in London, no one is present. Yeah. Like you get the occasional person reading the book, but most people are in the phone scrolling, headphones in. So,
and what we're essentially saying really is, like, we're trying to encourage pauses. Like if you really boil it down, creating pauses for our lives and ourselves, and not always being on all the time or feeling that we have to be on all the time. Creating the confidence that there's something inherently good about those pauses and how they help us show up. So that can happen in so many different ways. On the tube, running, like checking in with ourselves in these moments.
So to go away and start practice, try sitting if you can. You've got some resources people can use. But there's also a million apps out there, and some of them are free. I've used one called Insight Timer that's got some good stuff on there. YouTube.
Yeah.
What do you think about it? Is that a good place to go to?
Yeah, for sure. I think just keep it simple. Just find something that works for you and stick with it. There's so much out there that I think it's about consistency. So trying to have a practice each day. And if you find a practice that works with you, stick with it for 8 weeks. And then there might be a bit more experimenting to do. Because there's so much choice out there. Like just try and find something that you're comfortable to listen to as a 12-minute practice and stick with it for a period, and then broaden out from there, I'd say.
And if that really doesn't work, if you really can't sit still, and I think it's important to acknowledge as well, there are some people out there that have gone through a lot and in a real difficult place and sitting down, closing their eyes might not be the best thing for them
Yeah.
at that moment. But in this movement practice, as you say, go for a walk, go for a run,
Go to the gym.
exercise, just something.
Yeah, and I wouldn't always be an advocate for meditation practices. It might be weightlifting. There's times where I've been working with anger or different, like, difficult emotions. I just need to be in the gym. I won't go near meditation for a bit. I just need to be in the gym, working with my body, working with energy in that way, and that's what I need to do. So, like, but again, like, having a meditation practice gives me a good foundation of awareness to know what I need each week, or like certain things are going on in my life. I need to express energy in different ways. So take all of what I'm saying and ask the question, what is it that I need? What am I willing to experiment with? Am I willing to give this meditation thing a go? Is it the right time for me? And if it is, these are safe practices you can kick off with.
And you've given a really easy way in. You've not said you have to go to a meditation center, because I found that really, like, at the start, I was like, not that. It sounds like you weren't the kind of guy. Like, I was football, you were rugby. Like, can you imagine telling you then you need to go and sit in a meditation center? Like,
well, I was highly resistant when I did turn up at in the Buddhist center. I was like, this is like the hippie stuff. What's this about? But there is also the benefit of being with a group, and it's collective, and it supports stillness, basically. So yeah, that can be a next step. There's plenty you can do to sort of start the journey, and then you can explore groups and courses.
Find the pauses.
Yes.
Find what works for you, and just try it.
Yeah.
How can people find you and find out more about your work?
You can reach me on LinkedIn, Luke Doherty. You can also reach me on www.mindfulpeakperformance.com. And always available to have a chat with anyone who reaches out.
Brilliant. Well, it sounds like we just need to go away and do meditation now, don't we?
Yes.
Well, you've stayed until the end, so you're basically part of our community now, and I need your help. I've paid for the whole of season 1 myself, and I'm running on fumes now. I'm trying to raise 1,200 quid to cover the cost of season 2. Every penny will go towards creating episodes that help people who are feeling lost and alone. If you found this episode helpful and you're able to chip in, then please do help us to help others. You can donate towards season 2 by heading to my coffee page, which you can find in the show notes. If you're in London and you want to join our Reconnect waiting list, go to reconnect.club, or if you'd like me to speak at your organisation, it's joetudor.com. I'll add the link to Luke's meditations as well as some other resources down in the show notes. Thanks for your help in growing the Reconnect community. Until next time, see ya.